Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you very much if you are still here. Jump scare, forehead reveal, yow! But yes, if you are still here, I very much appreciate the heck out of you, because I have not really cared to put much effort into maintaining this channel up to now. But 2024 is finally going to be the year that I make something of my content, because I am sick of getting bullied and treated like dirt and bossed around and told, you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't talk about that. And on top of it, people just claiming that I'm not nice enough, I'm not charming enough, I'm not whatever enough. And I'm just sick of letting other people define what is and isn't enough for me. So I'm going to really knuckle under and stop letting other people define whether or not I'm enough to have a YouTube channel. So what if I only have 44 subscribers? So what? Really? That's 44 people who are going to see my videos that wouldn't see my videos if I didn't make them. Like, that wouldn't know what I had to say unless I put it out there. So, I have never used hydrating mist before, but I really have been having an issue with dry skin. So we are going to see Future-Wise Slug Boost Hydrating Mist. We shall see. Ooh, that is actually very nice. Very nice. Kind of smells like a baby wipe. But today I want to talk about one of the major reasons why I decided to keep going on YouTube. It came to my attention that people don't really know a lot about an author, or they don't bother to try to know a lot about an author. They see a BookTok recommendation and they go with it, and they don't bother to look any deeper. And that was a problem last year in some of the niche book communities that I am a part of. And the truth is, I can say that I don't care what they think every day of the week, but I did care, and it just, I wish I could explain what happened without feeling like, because a huge part of why I stopped producing content was because when this drama started going down in the horror community, people really came after me and really made me feel like shit for my opinions, right? And like, I felt like if anybody had the right to the opinion that I have about what happened, it's me. Because authors really, in certain communities, need to think critically. Like, if you're gonna write certain kinds of books, you don't get to just say, I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm just gonna worry about myself. And ultimately, attempting to speak my truth about how I felt. I had one video pinned on an account that I had that has now since been banned. It was banned because people didn't like what I had to say about this person. You were never going to catch me calling him a bad writer. He's not a bad writer. I put 2 of his books back into my rotation because he's not a bad writer, and he's been showing up in my feed, and I have these books and I want to finish reading them regardless of what happened and how I feel. I may or may not have been manipulated by this person as a fan. You'll have to excuse me. I'm pretty sure I had COVID a couple months ago, and just started getting over it a couple of weeks ago. I also had a really bad cold on top of it, which is possible. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not possible to have rhinovirus and COVID at the same time. It is possible. It's not always possible to tell the difference, but it is possible to have both. Anyway, I feel that because I essentially was deplatformed, right? I lost an account because of speaking out about this issue, is why I felt that it was a pertinent issue for me to bring my channel back to, because a lot has changed since the last time I posted any horror-related content. Last summer, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild both went on strike. And due to that strike, I shifted my content to book content because I'd started dabbling in splatterpunk, and you'll be hearing a lot about specific splatterpunk authors that I really enjoy, but we're going to talk about why I don't promote the genre as a whole anymore, and I'm really hoping that people will have more sense than they did the last time I tried talking about this, because it's genuinely disturbing that I can say that I felt groomed, that there was an attempt made to groom me into being the kind of person that would ignore allegations or defend somebody against allegations. I felt that I was being groomed to be a victim blamer. When people started talking about feeling unsafe in the horror community. And the fact that people felt the need to deplatform me over that because they love this, they have such a twisted fucking parasocial relationship with this author. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, there are some bigger horror book influencers that refer to this author as their friend. At the end of the day, they are authors and we are influencers. There is a difference between the community that influencers and reviewers and readers are trying to foster, and the community that authors foster. And it is very freaking clear that those two should not mix. Right? Because when you have authors who are going up on their platforms and saying, ultimately at the end of the day, I gotta watch out for me and I can't make a stand, regardless of whether or not it makes people feel unsafe, it makes marginalized people, but it's the marginalized people that he is grooming to be his biggest defenders, right? The same marginalized people who are not safe in his community, because he will always ultimately put money and his bottom line before doing the right thing. Like, he said it himself, right? So it's not about the genre. Every time somebody wants to criticize anything that a splatterpunk author does, oh, you just don't understand the genre. C.M. Guidrose, E. Reyes, Rath James Wright, Ben Farthing isn't really splatterpunk necessarily, but, you know, I'd put his, you know, kind of weird core I Found series kind of in that category. Like, there are people, Chandler Morrison, right? The number of people who have read Dead Inside or heard the synopsis or whatever and have heard that and said, oh my god, he must hate women. Like, no, he really doesn't. And that's why I still read his books. Like, it's not the genre. It's the fact that the genre attracts these absolute scuzz buckets, and then the rest of y'all give them safe haven because you don't want to ruin your fun. They're the ones ruining the fun. If we would make the community safe for everyone, right, then it would be fun, right? Because everybody would be safe. But ultimately, what I've found trying to be an influencer in the splatterpunk and extreme horror community was that if you aren't kissing the right asses, if you are being too critical, if you're being too political, then there's no room for you. And that's not really something that I'm interested in promoting on my platform. I'll talk about it on my podcast quite a bit, that I'm not about, you know, we're not doing the, you know, we're not criticizing people anymore. We're not shutting down dialogue. Like, if somebody, like, I'm gonna use J.K. Rowling as an example, right? Like, it took all of 5 seconds, right? I heard the turfy nonsense, boom, done. I threw away all of my Harry Potter merchandise. Threw it away. I don't want to hear any lectures about the environmental impact of that. The point is, it's not that hard to just drop something when you find out it's problematic, or it shouldn't be. And as an author, if you care about your community, especially a community where you are purposefully fostering unsafe parasocial relationships, you have to be prepared to take criticism and take it constructively and do something with it and be a better person. Like, it's just wild to me how something that is responsible for reigniting my love of reading, that now I won't touch that community with a 10-foot pole. Like, you know, like I said, I embrace the authors, right? C.M. Guidrose, one of my favorite authors of all time, right? Autobuy, I'll read anything that woman writes, right? Same with Chandler Morrison. He's an autobuy author. Anything he writes, I'll buy it, I'll read it, right? Like, he is just phenomenal at digging into the reality of the human experience, especially the reality of how the patriarchy has situated men and women in this dynamic that is, it's very weird how men actually have the power, but are constantly crying about how women are the ones who have the power, right? Like, my ex-husband was constantly, oh, women are so lucky, you're the ones who get to choose when men have sex, and it's like, it's like, I mean, I guess if you're not a rapist, but most men will just turn around and take what they want, or manipulate a woman into giving them what they want, or coerce a woman into giving them what they want. Like, they don't deserve flowers for that. Like, and so it's just very disappointing that an author like Chandler Morrison can be, can get it, but other authors can't see. I'm not even gonna name names here, because that is how ridiculous the splatterpunk community is when you criticize their faves. Like, again, I lost an account where I was keeping evidence of abuse and harassment and stalking and doxing. And I lost that account because, again, an author who I criticized for something that is a valid criticism of anybody in the splatterpunk genre. But because she's a trans woman, she thinks she's special. And she came and apologized for the harassment and the fact that her fans cost me the evidence of my abuse. But she never said anything on her page. She never said anything in her Facebook group, which is where the majority of the people, where she posted about me, for the majority of the people to come harass me. Like, it's ridiculous how I really wanted to be, like, being a splatterpunk book influencer wasn't something that I wanted to do because I'm sorry, this just feels really freaking good. And it feels better than putting another thick ass layer of lotion on. But splatterpunk really has a meaning to me, right? Like, it's not just books to me. It's an experience. It's something that I really, because the so-called cinematic equivalent of splatterpunk, right, is torture porn. Movies like Saw and, Hostel and the like. So it's really, and a lot of the people that I follow on social media, the majority of the people I follow who talk about cinematic torture porn are women and queer people and black people. And so it's, once again, disappointing that I had this experience with these people, and instead of saying, hey, maybe we should listen to how this made this person feel and do better, people dismissed how I felt, got me deplatformed, cost me evidence that I needed to prove that I was being abused by my ex-boyfriend. Like, it's just disappointing. Especially since most of the people in those communities are people who are politically minded, who are progressive and smart and, you know, want to do the right thing. So the fact that they get so led astray by, you know, a couple of white men, cis, straight, white men, like, freaking get real. It's 2024. We're done idolizing people like that to the point where we traumatize and bully and harass marginalized people for criticizing them. You know, again, that's something I talk about in my podcast. It's not, we don't have to beat each other up to be successful. Like, we can just support each other and enjoy the fruits together. Like, and if that requires some discomfort because some, you know, we may need to learn how to be different or do different or whatever, then so be it. But, like, no more of this beating people up because they disagree about our favorite people. It's just, I can't. Especially in the horror community. If you are writing books like that, you need to be prepared to hear about yourself. You just need to. Period. That being said, I am still trying to decide how I want to split up the content between YouTube and the podcast. I think the podcast, is still going to remain focused on my unpopular opinions about the books themselves, and that I'm going to save my unpopular opinions about authors, the communities, that kind of thing for the channel, because now that all the strike stuff is resolved and everybody's back to work in Hollywood, I want to start talking about movies again. I was viciously, wickedly, wildly obsessed with Reanimator last summer. It was my favorite movie, and it is based on, I think it's based on the novel From Beyond by H.P. Lovecraft. And then there's also a short story called Herbert West Reanimator that is in there somewhere. But alright, I don't know where I left off, but talking about H.P. Lovecraft. He was well known for being quite racist, and one of the things that gets me about the J.K. Rowling, the constant debates about that, is that people don't understand how her writing is racist and bigoted too, not just, you know, her turfy views about trans people. Isn't this the cutest bracelet? I don't know if you could tell what it looks like or what it's supposed to look like, but I want to talk about and explore a little bit how it's possible that the reason why people don't see immediately the racism in Lovecraft's work is for the same reason that people don't see it in J.K. Rowling's work, right? It's Black, Indigenous, and other people of color that have been pointing out the racism and the anti-Semitism in J.K. Rowling's books. Like, there's a reason why people didn't see Lovecraft for what he was until later, or didn't see that his views had in fact seeped into his work, is what I'm trying to say, until later. So that is definitely something we're going to talk about probably next time. I'm probably, since I want to try to put out podcast episodes every week, I'm probably going to do once a month on YouTube videos, just because I really want to make sure that I am researching and, you know, giving you really good thought out content on, you know, the kinds of things that I want to talk about. Especially since YouTube is no longer prioritizing long form content. So I think putting a whole lot of effort into a few videos that I can really get boosted through social media will be the good way to go. Speaking of social media, make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, do the things. Make sure that you are following me on all my social media, especially on Fable, because Fable is where I'm going to be posting the majority of my reviews, and, you know, my TBRs is posted there. I have a book club there that I moderate. I'm a part of 2 book clubs, What the KU Horror, and then a BIPOC fantasy club, which is every month we are reading a new fantasy book by a BIPOC author. So that is going to be fun. But that app is definitely where I want to grow myself as far as book influencing. Just to stay a little bit out of reach of people who might be reporting my content for nefarious reasons, if you catch my drift. So if you want to hear more about Reanimator, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and ring the notification bell. Anything else, make sure you follow on social media, and we will see you in the next episode.